the Fantasy Flow Podcast are real scrappy lunch pail guys with deceptive speed. Hey, welcome into the Fantasy Flow Podcast. I'm your host, Austin. I'm usually joined by my co-host, Andy, but this week he's on vacation in Iceland, so I'm going to let him enjoy that, although he did send me some notes he had from week 1, and he sent me his game picks for week 2, so we'll keep everyone updated on all of that. We're going to preview week 2, but we also got to review week 1. I mean, that was an incredible week of football, so we're here to talk about it. I think it lived up to the hype in pretty much every way, even as someone who got chopped in a chopped league week 1, and as someone who is a fan of the Seahawks and then the Ravens secondarily. I still managed to enjoy a lot of the football this weekend. So we're going to dive into all that. Just real quick, off the rip, if you could give this video a like and a subscribe if you're feeling like it. We are trying to get to 100 subscribers. That's our near-term goal. And just giving us a like is just a quick, easy, free way to support the show, and it really means a lot. It really helps us in the algorithm. So I appreciate any and all support that we can get. First things first, let's talk Seahawks. Okay, we're a Seahawks. Andy and I, huge Seahawks fans. A lot of our listeners are Seahawks fans, and there's a lot of discourse happening about that game. And man, that was a tough one. It really felt like the Seahawks had every opportunity to win that game. Our defense looked very good, and our offense just couldn't put up more than 13 points. It was really sad. Here's how I see it. The game against the 49ers was so much closer than it should have been. The 49ers were missing Brandon Ayuk. They lost George Kittle at the beginning of the game. They lost Jennings in the second half. Purdy threw multiple interceptions, and their kicker was sabotaging them the whole game. And the Seahawks still found a way to lose. It is so sad. Andy has been pessimistic about this Seahawks offense all offseason. We really liked where it was headed, and then they tore down the whole thing. New quarterback, new receivers, new coordinator, and this was the result. So the Seahawks, after recommitting to the run game all offseason, averaged 3.2 yards per rush attempt as a team. Sam Darnold did not score a touchdown and did not surpass 100 passing yards until basically the 2-minute warning. Wide receiver stat lines besides JSN, who had a great game. So receivers besides JSN, Cooper Kupp, 2 for 15. End of list. No other wide receiver was even targeted that I'm aware of. Tight end caught like a couple passes. Running backs, not even Charbonnet. I think it was just Kenneth Walker who was targeted in the flat a couple times. Just really hyper focused on JSN. It was really bad. The time of possession was ridiculous. We could not hold on to the ball. We stayed committed to the run game, just like our last offensive coordinator was fired for not doing. So there's that. I mean, 26 runs to 23 passes. But when the run game is not going, those are quick 3 and outs. And that's how you lose the time of possession battle horrendously, like we did. But we were still in it. We were still in it in the fourth quarter, late into the fourth quarter. There was lots of talk about the decision to kick a field goal in the fourth quarter instead of going for it on 4th and inches. The game was tied. We were comfortably in field goal range. If we turn the ball over on downs there, the 49ers still have to go pretty much the length of the field. I think kicking a field goal there was actually not terrible. I didn't love it. It wasn't inspiring. But you do want to take the lead, and 4th and inches, I mean, the offensive line had been getting eaten alive all game. The run game was not working, so 4th and inches, I mean, if you go for it and you don't get it, then the 49ers just need a field goal as opposed to a whole touchdown. So I totally see the logic there. I'm not confident we would have even got it if we went for it, frankly, just based on how the game was going. So that decision is defensible in my mind. But, man, I want to talk more about the final play of the game, the final play that mattered. So you got Sam Darnold dropping back to pass. Right tackle Abe Lucas, he got absolutely manhandled by Nick Bosa. Sam Darnold, he should have seen or sensed that pressure and stepped up in the pocket. He had a clear path to just step up in the pocket just a little bit, like most quarterbacks do subconsciously. But he has always had poor pocket presence, and he fumbled the ball. Abe Lucas just got backed into him, and when he went to pass, Sam Darnold literally fumbled the ball off of Abe Lucas's butt. It's the butt fumble all over again. And he fumbled the game away, and there's plenty of blame to go around, obviously, on Abe Lucas, Sam Darnold, the coaching. Super frustrating. And now the Seattle Seahawks are alone in 4th place in the NFC West. Only other team in the league to be alone in last place is the Kansas City Chiefs, which I thought was pretty ironic. So maybe we're in good company, but miserable week 1. Even made more miserable by the fact that we were so close. But no, I don't give the team a lot of credit outside of the defense. All right, enough Seahawks. Let's talk about the rest of the games. There were 15 other games this week. One of them's happening right now as I record, the Monday Night Football game. So I'm going to update you guys on that later. But we're going to talk about all the rest of the games right now. And I'm going to try and differentiate between things that I thought were kind of fluky, for lack of a better word, fortuitous maybe, and things that I thought were actually concerning that I think are actually likely to repeat moving forward, things that I'm actually, oh, wow. Okay, maybe a little bit of overreaction. I don't know. I don't have Andy here to like sort of check me, so we'll see. But we're gonna start off with what started it all off, which was the Eagles-Cowboys game. This was the definition of fluky. I mean, Jalen Carter gets ejected on the first play, spitting on Dak Prescott. That's not okay. I think everyone's on the same page about this, except for a couple of delusional Eagles fans. But like, that's not okay. He deserved to get ejected. I don't think he should get suspended beyond that. He missed the entire game. It was a huge deal, so I think that's punishment enough. But then there was a lightning delay, and only 3 points were scored in the second half. I think that lightning delay really, it was a huge bummer for both offenses, and we saw the same thing actually on Sunday with the Jaguars and the Panthers. All offense ceased after the weather delay. So I think that was fluky. The one thing that I am concerned about from this game is A.J. Brown. Look, I said last month that he was the worst pick in the second round. He's not a very exciting player, and there are opportunities, right? We saw this last year with the Eagles just being so dominant and having such a great run game that if he's not putting up points in the first half, well, then they're just going to put it on cruise control, and it's just going to be Saquon Barkley running out the clock. But man, unlike some other wide receivers, which we'll talk about, this was really concerning for me. I'm worried right away. A.J. Brown only targeted once. Not just that he only had one catch, he only had one target. And it's a brand new offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator was he was on record this offseason saying that he's really excited to get the tight ends more involved. We saw that right away. I think it's a serious problem for A.J. Brown. That's probably the guy that I'm most worried about, besides some quarterbacks, which we'll talk about. Next game, Friday night, Chargers, Chiefs. Again, we had a player leave right away that changed the entire game plan for that team. This one was an offensive player, Xavier Worthy. He injured his shoulder, bumping into Travis Swift. Travis Swift basically ruined the whole game plan for the Chiefs. They ended up having to target Hollywood Brown like 10 times. It's just crazy. I mean, I'm kind of half joking, but I'm really not. I don't know what to make of it because I don't know how many games Xavier Worthy is going to miss, but I do know that the version of the Chiefs that we saw on Friday is not the version of the Chiefs that we're going to see for most of the season. I think that really did, because they are already down their number one receiver, and then they were down their top two receivers. So it was just like, oh my goodness. I just can't imagine being the offensive coordinator in that situation, trying to call plays with like just backups in there. And the game was in another country. Okay, let's not forget that part. So like, I think a lot of this was fluky. Props to the Chargers for taking down the Chiefs. They looked good, especially Justin Herbert looked good. He's got a ton of weapons, man. So that's really exciting to see. But I don't know. I wish I could, talk poorly about the Chiefs a little bit more than I am. But I think they're gonna bounce back. So we're going to move on to some of the other games on Sunday. We're going to kind of speed run some of these that I don't think were as prescriptive moving forward. One of those being Broncos Titans. What a gross game all around. That was so disappointing from the Broncos, but I think it was fluky. I'm just on to the next one. I think this is a classic bury the ball game where you go out there with your team, you take the metaphorical football and you bury it and you forget about it and you never talk about it again. I'm looking for the Broncos to bounce back next week. And then for the Titans, I mean, this was a horrible situation. We knew that going in, right? Cam Ward's first ever game on the road in Denver with the altitude against one of the best defenses. Like, that was always going to go horribly. I did not expect the Broncos to respond the way they did. It was like neither one of these teams wanted to win. I'm just crumpling that up into a ball, throwing it over my shoulder. It's done. Cardinals Saints. I'm surprised James Conner couldn't really get going. Man, maybe it is going to be more of a split in that backfield than we think in Arizona. So that's a little concerning, but not very concerning. I think James Conner has an awesome opportunity to bounce back against the Carolina Panthers defense next week. So I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of the Panthers, let's talk Panthers-Jags. Man, Bryce Young is terrible. He's really bad. The Jaguars are not like some incredible threat, and he just looked so bad. Multiple turnovers, and his defense is even worse. And we saw the Jags take advantage of that. ETN was incredible. I don't know how repeatable that is. I want to see it again. Even news just broke right before I started recording that they traded away their backup Tank Bigsby. That's a good sign for ETN, but he's not going to do what he did against the Panthers defense every week. So just take that with a grain of salt. This might be a good sell high opportunity for ETN. Who it's not a good sell high opportunity for is Brian Thomas Jr. He only caught one pass all game. I know that was some people's first round picks. Like, they really liked this guy. But man, I just want to remind the audience, he only caught one pass, but he was targeted 7 times. They just didn't happen to connect. He still led the team in targets, and I expect him to bounce back. That was honestly a relief when I saw that he was 1 for 7, as opposed to A.J. Brown, who was 1 for 1. So pretty big distinction there. It's something to watch moving forward. I'm not saying I'm not worried, but yeah, it could be worse. He was still targeted 7 times, so hang on to that if you're a Brian Thomas Jr. manager. All right, next game. Where are we going? The Commanders and the Giants. This was one of the most boring games of the weekend. Maybe I just wasn't as invested in it. I had Debo in a couple places, and Debo was excellent. This team last year led the league in screen passes and short yardage. Like, everything was just nice and short. It was very quick. It was very easy for their quarterback, Jaden Daniels. And who's the best at screens and taking short passes to the house? The former Yak God, Debo Samuel. So that just made all the sense in the world. But unfortunately, as a result, Terry McLaurin, their number one receiver, he caught 2 of 4 targets. That is worrying. I want to see another game before I bench him. So I'm not calling for him to be benched. I think he could bounce back. And then on the other side, the Giants, Russell Wilson, woof. This guy, I don't know what's going on, man. He looked like year 1 in Denver, Russell Wilson. That's how bad he was. He completed 46% of his passes at 4.5 yards per pass attempt, which is abysmal. Like, if you're not familiar with that stat, it's like 6 yards per attempt is bad. So he's at 4.5. They only put up 6 points. Tyrone Tracy had like 2 yards per carry. We'll talk about him more later. But yeah, it was all bad in New York. Your top 2 receivers still got enough targets to be okay. But yeah, if this is how bad this team's going to be, there's just not going to be a lot of opportunities for touchdowns because you're not going to drive down the field at 4.5 yards per pass attempt. So kind of concerning there. But we already kind of knew that, right? Like, I had no big expectations for Russell Wilson or the Giants. Raiders Patriots. Okay, this was very interesting. I said last week that this game had the most question marks for fantasy. And after seeing it, I still have questions. I want another week, at least one more data point for guys like Travion Henderson, who looked good on the touches that he got, but he didn't get that many touches. Kayshon Boutte, who most people thought was like their wide receiver 4 or 5, he ended up leading the team in receptions. Is that fluky? I don't know. I want another data point before I can feel confident starting any Patriots wide receiver. And then on the other side, Geno Smith looked awesome. I want to see that again before I start Geno Smith. And Ashton Genty did not look awesome. He also averaged 2 yards per carry, but he did fall into the end zone. So he saved you for fantasy there. But like, wow, he did not look good. So is that just going to improve as he kind of catches up to the speed of the NFL? Or is the Raiders' offensive line not blocking well? Like, I don't know. I just want to see it again. And then next game, Bills-Ravens. We're jumping ahead a little bit to Sunday Night Football, but holy cow, what a shootout. Andy, my co-host, he predicted it. He said this game was going to be a shootout, and he wanted every piece of this game, and he was so right. As a Ravens fan, it was tough to see my team blow the lead like that, but it was so dramatic. It was so cool. Hilarious seeing Bills fans leave the stadium early. Hilarious seeing Lamar shove that kid. That was one of the highlights of the week. But man, yeah, it is worrisome. The Ravens, they still have problems in the secondary despite drafting a first-round safety and signing Jair Alexander. Mid receivers were just flashing open regularly, like in clutch moments. I don't know. I mean, Josh Allen is doing incredible MVP things, but like, I don't know how these guys are getting that open. I thought that the Ravens defense was a little bit better than that. But yeah, they're just so leaky. They allowed 41 points at the end of the day. And speaking of points, Josh Allen scored 10 more fantasy points in most formats than the second highest scorer. So 10 more points than any other player. That's a cheat code. He immediately vindicated anyone who like overdrafted him. Just incredible performance. And yeah, final thought. I mean, man, Derrick Henry. Like, I think we overcomplicate fantasy football sometimes. Like, just draft the best players on the best teams. And we saw that, I think, across the league for the most part. Derrick Henry, man, he's an outlier. He's 31, but he's not 31. Like, you just got to know that. And I'm fortunate to have him on half my teams. And those are the half of teams that won this week. It's as simple as that. So, I don't know, man. Yeah, Derrick Henry's incredible. So, all right. The rest of these games, I think, are super interesting. I'm borderline overreacting. I don't know if they're overreactions or not, but they have me second-guessing my priors, and they have me reconsidering a ton of players. We're going to jump into it, okay? Dolphins, Colts. Wow, these Dolphins are bad. I did not expect the Dolphins to be a playoff team by any means, but like, I thought in September when the weather's still nice and Tua's fully healthy that you could trust this offense to move, and you could not. It was horrible. Tua turned the ball over 3 times, and this Colts defense is below average. So I still believe that. So I'm so scared of any Miami Dolphin now. As long as Achane is healthy, he should see volume, but like, man, it's a rough scene in Miami. I could see Tyreek Hill getting traded sooner than later. Yeah, it is yikes. And then on the flip side, holy cow, Daniel Jones, he's making me eat my words because I had written this guy off. I thought he should have been done in New York like years before they finally let him go. I thought he was a little bit better than Anthony Richardson. Wasn't surprised to see him get the start, but I am surprised to see him in top 5 fantasy scorers of week 1. The dude had 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 passing. He was so efficient. He spread the ball around. It was honestly awesome to see because Michael Pittman ate, Tyler Warren ate, rookie tight end. Hello. He connected with Alec Pierce on a long bomb. You got Jonathan Taylor involved. Like, it was very cool to see. The only one who didn't get anything was Josh Downs. But I think just every week a different receiver will probably lead that room. Daniel Jones just looks so good. And maybe that is a product of the horrible Miami Dolphins secondary. But yeah, I don't know. They got kind of eaten alive on the ground, too. I mean, this team had like 150 rushing yards, the Colts did. So very impressed with the Colts, very unimpressed with the Dolphins. I honestly thought the Dolphins might win that one, and they ended up losing by 25. So, whoa, yeah, I'm reconsidering both of those teams and their fantasy players moving forward. Next game I want to talk about, Bucks Falcons. This was the most stressed I've ever been watching a game that wasn't my home team, right? It was absolutely nuts. This sort of quote unquote game winning drive that Michael Penix led. He led the Falcons all the way down the field, and it was like, oh, they're stopped on 4th and short, and then they review it for like 10 minutes, and then he does get the first down, and then he gets all the way to the goal line, and then it goes all the way down to 4th and goal, and it's like, oh, did he get in? Did he not? We're reviewing it. What's the call on the field? So stressful. He gets the touchdown, and then, of course, Baker Mayfield drives all the way down the field in a few seconds. I think it was like 4 seconds. He drives down the field and connects with Igbuka on the actual game-winning touchdown. But the Falcons still have time. They have time enough because the Bucs scored too quick. So Michael Penix, he leads another game-winning drive all the way down the field, gets into comfortable field goal range. I think it was 43 yards. And their field goal kicker, Koo, he blew it. The game would have gone to overtime, and there would have been even more fantasy points. But yeah, that was really devastating to see as a guy who, I'm a Huskies fan. I'm a Michael Penix Jr. fan. Yeah, that was really a bummer to see, but I do like Baker Mayfield as well. And man, the fantasy points were flowing. Baker Mayfield, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 to Igbuka, who was one of our starts of the week from last week. Mike Evans, look, he'll probably get one next week, but he was still involved. Bucky got a touchdown. And then in Atlanta, Bijan had the big play. But look at that. Kyle Pitts, 7 catches, 60 yards. He's going to be relevant this year, and it's going to be fun to watch. So I don't know if I was surprised by that game because I knew that it would be close, but I'm more optimistic about both offenses now because of what they were both able to do. Very cool to see. Great game. I like the Falcons if they can figure out how to make their field goal kicks. Not that has anything to do with fantasy, but like, man, wheels up for Atlanta. Where are we going next? Rams, Texans. This game was gross. Yeah, I think both teams' defensive lines are far better than their offensive lines, and so it was just an absolute struggle to get anything going for either team. I want to credit both defenses, and I want to see both of these offenses again against a different opponent. A little more concerned about Houston, though. Bad offensive line, and like, is CJ Stroud that type of quarterback to handle a bad offensive line well? Because some quarterbacks can handle a bad offensive line better than others. Is this like a Sam Darnold situation where Stroud was in a good situation, like Darnold was in Minnesota, and now he's not? Like, I don't know. So, yeah, that's super concerning. I'm worried about Nico Collins. He finished the game with 3 catches for 25 yards. But again, if this offensive line is that bad and it has that effect on the offense, that's yikes. I don't know why they're going to other guys. Cade Stover had 4 catches. Justin Watson, Xavier Hutchinson, like, they're spreading the ball around way too much, and I am worried. I'm not benching Nico Collins yet, but red flags for sure. I want to talk about Puka Nacua. He was top 3 this week in receptions and top 3 in receiving yards. The dude's a beast, and this offense just hyper focuses on him. You wouldn't know it, but by the stat sheet, but Davante Adams. I think Puka was targeted 10 or 11 times, and Davante Adams was targeted 8 times. So the split between them isn't as different, but it's not like they're even. I thought it would be a little closer, and we'll see. We'll get more data, but yeah, that, man, if you came away with Davante Adams, you're probably wishing you just paid up for Puka, which is unfortunate. But yeah, Matthew Stafford's back looked good. He was healthy for the whole game. And they got the win. So, Next game, boy, this was boring. This was really disappointing. The Packers and the Lions, this was billed as like the game of the week. And it was a blowout from start to finish. And I think most people have a soft spot in their heart for the Detroit Lions. And to see them just suffer like that was not fun. Jared Goff had a very interesting game. He completed 31 of 39 passes, which sounds great. But then you look under the hood and it's like 10 of them were to Jahmyr Gibbs, just dump offs literally at the line of scrimmage. So if you take those out, he only completed like 65% of his passes, which is average. The run game, crazy, absolutely crazy. David Montgomery, 2 yards a carry. Jahmyr Gibbs, 2 yards a carry. That's not something that we've seen from these Lions. So all those worries about the offensive line, man, maybe that's where it shows up, or maybe the Packers are just that good. I mean, a lot of people were really hyped about this defense before Micah Parsons joined, and then Micah Parsons joined, and they look like the best defense in football. I'm terrified. I'm changing my opinions right away, because if they can do this to the Lions, I think they can do it to anyone. So the Packers are skyrocketing up my, my power rankings in my mind, and I'm scared to now start players against the Packers. I'm not going to wait to react to this one because that was such a drubbing of the Lions. So yeah, that's really concerning. And shout out to Andy, my co-host. This was his surprise Super Bowl pick. So that's looking real good. Okay, we're going to talk Bengals-Browns real quick. This was kind of fluky to me. I'm not super worried about the Bengals. I'm not worried about Joe Burrow. Okay, they always get off to a slow start. This was a divisional game on the road in a tough environment in the dog pound. I predicted that this game would be close. This was one of my picks to take the Browns plus 5.5. It was pretty obvious to me. And it played out exactly how I thought it would, that the Browns would give them a hell of a fight and that they would find a way to blow it and still lose. And that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, tough. Browns should have won that game, but who cares? And then the last game, I saved this for last because I think it was the game of the week. Everyone's talking about the Bills-Ravens and how great that was, and it was great. It was great. I'm a Ravens, stan, so I'm biased. But to me, the game that should not be overlooked, the game that surprised the hell out of me, was Steelers-Jets. This did not just surprise me. This surprised everyone. This surprised Vegas. Okay, this was the lowest over-under of the week, and they ended up scoring 66 points. Absolutely nuts. Aaron Rodgers throws 4 touchdowns. Justin Fields scores 3 total touchdowns. Yeah, I was hyped to watch this game going in because I thought it might be like a train wreck. I'm like, Aaron Rodgers, like, rejected by the Jets, going against the Jets, Justin Fields, vice versa. They both showed out. Like, if they played like this last year, they're playing for the other team this year. Like, it was so crazy to see, and I honestly, good for them. Like, this is great not only for them but for fantasy and for fantasy managers. Like, everyone ate, and it was just so cool to see. Diving into the stats, yeah, everyone except for Caleb Johnson, of course. Yeah, he got a 1 carry for -2 yards, but everyone else had a very good game. DK Metcalf, he's one of the most exciting players to watch with the ball in his hands. Like, even still, even though he's not wearing a Seahawks jersey, he's so physical. It's so awesome. But man, the Jets, Breece Hall went for over 100 yards. I think he was only one of 3 players in week 1 to have over 100 rushing yards. 3 out of 32 teams. So that's super impressive and super surprising. Yeah, this is totally changing my opinion on the Jets. I'm not going to be slow to react to this either. I think Garrett Wilson immediately skyrockets in rankings. Justin Fields should be started in every league basically at this point. I mean, he's a dual threat quarterback, and if he has this connection with Garrett Wilson that we're seeing, I think there's room to even go up, because again, this was against the Steelers defense and vice versa. Like, both these teams were supposed to have great defenses. That's why it had the lowest over under. So super impressive. I'm changing my opinions on a lot of these players. Even Aaron Rodgers, I think you could start. moving forward because he just showed such great command of that offense. Okay, the last order of business for us before we turn the page and look forward to week 2 is the Team Elimination Challenge, which was a highlight of our show last year. I came up with this challenge, and we've done it for years now. It is where we eliminate a team after every week. We declare that this team is dead. They have no chance to make the playoffs. We do that after every regular season week. There are 18 regular season weeks, which means you eliminate 18 teams. 14 teams remain. 14 teams make the playoffs. If you perfectly eliminate all the non-playoff teams one at a time every week, it works out perfectly and you win the Team Elimination Challenge like we did last year. This year, since Andy's not here, we're going to have a truncated discussion between me and you guys, mostly me. I think that the Panthers are perfect for this. I think you could easily eliminate the Saints. Some teams that we thought were bad just totally crapped the bed. Giants are a candidate for this. I'm just going to take my layups where I can get them. I'm going to go with the Saints. Saints are done. All right, looking forward to week 2. What are some storylines that I'm going to be watching next week? I'll tell you. These are my top 3, okay? I got DK Metcalf facing the Seahawks for the first time after that blockbuster trade. Holy cow, Aaron Rodgers versus the Seahawks. That's good enough, but with DK Metcalf and that whole storyline, I'm so excited. I want to see him opposite Devin Witherspoon. I want to see trash talk, and I think it's going to be a really evenly matched game on that side of the ball. And then what else do we have? We have the Battle of the Ponies. We have the Broncos and the Colts. That's going to be really great because I was super high on the Broncos before week 1, and then week 1 happened, and so they disappointed. And opposite with the Colts, right? I was low on the Colts, and then they exploded for 33 points in week 1. So what's going to happen when these teams collide? Like, no one knows. Vegas doesn't know. The point spread, I think Broncos are still favored, but like by not even a field goal. So that's a super close matchup. I want to see what happens. What's true, right? Do the Broncos bounce back? Or if the Colts do to the Broncos what they did to the Dolphins, then suddenly we have to look at the Colts in a whole different way. That's going to be a real fun one to watch. And then, of course, it's the Super Bowl rematch. Okay, Eagles, Chiefs. And I don't know, maybe Jalen Carter will be suspended. Maybe Xavier Worthy's going to miss the game. There's a lot up in the air. Everyone's going to be talking about this game. And I think the Eagles might win by 20 points again. I think I see no reason why. Just a few months, the result's going to flip, especially with Rashee Rice suspended and Xavier Worthy injured. So we'll see. I'll be excited to watch the Chiefs lose again. That's what I totally anticipate happening. And we'll get to predictions, but definitely looking forward to that in week 2. All right, but on to fantasy football. For week 2, we got players that we're flowing into our lineups, players we're flowing out of our lineups. If you listened to us last week, you know that we recommended 3 wide receivers last week in this segment that we were flowing into our lineups. Those 3 receivers were Deebo Samuel, Keon Coleman, and Emeka Egbuka. All guys that were kind of in that borderline flex territory, and all 3 of them top 5 wide receivers on the week. So give ourselves a little bit of pat on the back there. We had some other nice predictions when it came to flowing guys out. I told you to sit Dak Prescott. I told you to sit Calvin Ridley. And here we go. Okay, these are my picks for week 2. Players that I'm flowing into my lineup. Calvin Ridley. Okay, we knew last week was going to be terrible with that matchup against Pat Surtain and the Broncos on the road. Now he's at home. The whole Titans are at home. Cam Ward's going to be a little bit more comfortable going up against the Rams. Yes, the Rams have a terrifying pass rush, but their secondary is beatable. And I think it's going to be a passing game script, and I think Calvin Ridley will get his. So I'm confident moving him into my starting lineup this week just based on the matchup. Second player I'm flowing in, another wide receiver, Troy Franklin for the Broncos. Yeah, we just talked about that Broncos-Colts matchup. I don't believe that the Colts defense is good. I think that was just bad Dolphins. So now in comes the Denver Broncos. I'm projecting a bounce back, but let's look at what actually happened last week. Troy Franklin, based on the number of targets, was the wide receiver 2. And their tight end, Evan Ingram, who is a pass-catching tight end, he hurt his calf in that game, left, didn't come back. So, we're recording this on Monday. We'll see whether that injury means he's going to miss the game or not. But I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Troy Franklin against the Colts. I would even put him into my flex I don't know. He's in consideration in pretty much every league because just based on how I project the Broncos to bounce back. And then the third player that I'm flowing into my lineup, I already talked about him a little bit, but I'm giving some more flowers to Justin Fields. This dude is scary. Look at that. That's the best I've seen him look. And it was in a Jets uniform, which is crazy. But honestly, he just had such command and he was running around. He was making all the right decisions. He was so decisive. And a player like that, you just got to start in fantasy. I mean, his rushing upside is tremendous. And just think what he could do against like a normal team like the Bills, who are like a decent defense, but like their safeties are really exploitable. They're not as terrifying as the Steelers defense, in my opinion. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Start Justin Fields. 3 players I'm flowing out of my lineup. I'm just going to rip them off real quick. Tight end Mark Andrews. All right, I'm done playing this game. Get out of here. Get out of here. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, without his top 2 receivers against the Eagles defense, like, I don't see why anyone would start Patrick Mahomes. Running back Tyrone Tracy. Okay, he was horrible last week. Absolutely horrible. I think they're going to want to get Cam Scatterbo more involved. They got to inject that offense with something because that was just miserable to watch. I think it's going to be a bad game script as they try to keep up with Dallas's passing attack. So it's going to be less run game, more pass game. That's already Cam Scatterbo's, it seems like. So, yeah, bench Tyrone Tracy everywhere. All right, it is time for the Fantasy Flow Face-Off. This is a game picks challenge against the spread between Andy and I. We both pick 3 games. We take turns selecting point spreads that we like for the week, and we keep track of them throughout the season. And then the loser has to become a Cowboys fan and defend Jerry Jones on Cowboys Twitter for an entire year. Okay, so the stakes are high. Let's look at the results from week 1, okay? I picked the Browns plus 5.5. Cha-ching. I picked the Cardinals minus 6.5. We got it done. And then I picked the Steelers to cover 3.5. I didn't get that because they only won by 2. Okay, I was so close to a clean sweep, but I still feel great about it. And then Andy's picks, he picked the Seahawks, didn't get it. Patriots, didn't get it. And the Vikings, who are playing right now. He needs the Vikings to win by at least 2 points. And I'm recording while they're playing, and I'm looking at the score, and it doesn't look good. So he's in danger of going over. Now, on to this week. All right, so for this week's picks, now usually Andy and I would be doing a live draft of the point spreads that we like, taking turns picking. But since he's in Iceland, and since he's trailing, I just said, hey, send me in all 3 of your picks. I'll figure it out from there. So he gets his pick of the litter, and this is what he went with, okay? He went with the Carolina Panthers to cover 6.5 versus the Cardinals. He picked the Patriots, who are somehow underdogs versus the Dolphins. And then he went with the Chargers to cover 3.5 points versus the Raiders. Okay, I love that Patriots pick. Interesting, though, that he picked the Patriots last week and it didn't work out. So he's doubling down. I respect it. And then as for my picks, I'm taking the Rams to cover 6.5 versus the Tennessee Titans on the road. And I'm taking the Broncos to cover 2.5 versus the Colts. And then I'm taking the Eagles versus the Chiefs. Now, I'm looking at the Eagles as underdogs right now on Monday night, which makes no sense to me. They're actually getting 1.5 points based on what I'm looking at, but there's no way that that's true. I'm going to take them just straight up to win, okay? Not worrying about a point spread. It's going to move around. I love the Broncos at 2.5, so that might change, but I'll just be conservative with that line. I'll take the Eagles and a pick 'em. Just win the game, baby. All right. I think that's all for this week. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Thanks a ton for making it to the end of the episode. You're a real one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's a free, easy way to support the show, and it really helps us out. And leave us your comments down below if you're on YouTube, or send in your questions at the Fantasy Flow Podcast at gmail.com. Until next time.